It's been about 3 years since I got this camera, the Leica Q2. Since then, it's been essential to my life. I go out with this camera almost every day and capture moments on the streets. Even though it's raining, snowing, or crazy hot, the more I spend time with it, the more I like it. I'm not the kind of photographer who can deep dive into the details of gear, but I'm sure I feel something different from this camera. It took me to many places. India taught me the pure joy of street photography. I never got tired there, just walk and walk and walk, and take and take and take. Everything was different from the culture of my country. Everything was jumbled and so random. Cows, dogs, and people, people, and people. It's not difficult to find subjects. I was so amazed how their lives were still connected to their tradition and religion, and I wanted to express my emotional movement in a frame somehow. When I look back at my photos, there are many things I could have done more, but I was desperate to take photos. Even in an unusual, chaotic situation, the Leica Q2 worked as well as usual. There are many subjects I wanted to capture at every corner. As I desperately took photos without even thinking about a camera, it gradually became a part of my body. In Japan, which is my home country, this camera taught me how beautiful my country is. In some ways, it can be the most difficult thing to do. Realizing the beauty of your own country. You get used to it, and grass is always greener. Then you get to realize the downside of the place you live. But this camera always gives me fresh perspectives on my own country. Through the 28mm lens, I can see things differently. When I think about composing things in a frame, daily mundane things can be interesting subjects. This camera taught me that things in life are all about how you react and digest, rather than the objective criteria. You can make your own world more beautiful with your unique point of view. That's a lesson from this camera.
I mean, you do need coat application from the 20s, Sullivan, Orange, Ulster, Suffolk.
New York, New York, the mecca of street photography. Many famous and unfamous photographers have been taking photos here, and I was so glad to be a part of them. It's such an indulgent moment to walk around the city I dreamt of with my Leica Q2. Many kinds of people are there with different purposes. It's quite fun to put them in the same frame and compose beautifully. I feel that photography is the medium which can tell the history, story, smell, texture of the city, even without any sound and movement. Manhattan, Chinatown, Subway, Brooklyn, and Bronx. When I have my Leica Q2, my 5 senses get sharpened. I felt every element of the city with them. The more I took photos in the city, the more I felt the distance from the legendary photographers who developed their craft here. It's too far away, but at least I could feel the distance by being in the same city and walking on the same streets. I'm sure I'll be there again and create my craft more and more. Quebec, Canada. It has quite a unique presence in North America. You can see the huge influence from France. People are really nice, kind, and unique. My challenge has been how I can express them in a frame. I can feel them in person, but it's been tough to say them with photography. But I'm sure I can find one someday with my Q2 as long as I try. And of course, the weather here is not easy, especially in winter. But harsh weather is not necessarily bad for photography. You can catch unique scenes with the heavy snow. With my Q2, it's not so tough to walk out even though it's minus 30 degrees. It always motivates me to go out and create something. Morocco, one of the most beautiful countries I've ever visited. Deep history with beautiful people. Cities still keep their tradition, especially in old towns. Streets are quite narrow and many people are walking. But in that difficult situation, a Q2 shines. Very crowded, chaotic area, narrow street with harsh contrast. It did perfect job in any situation. I've been through a lot with this camera. Of course I can name technical features of this camera. It's Leica, it's a great camera. But more than that, I feel an emotional connection to it. It's quite personal. It's not just a camera to me anymore. The texture, click sound, weight, my body remembers every element of this camera. I even admire scratches on the lens foot. The trends come round and round in about a 10 or 20 year cycle, but there are some cameras that have gotten out of that cycle and don't get any influence from the trends anymore. They can be recognized as classic. I believe that Q2 will be one of them soon. Don't know why, but I just feel it. New models get released and we try to catch them. But there's no ending in this race. It's the one we photographers never win. They release, we buy. They release, and we buy. We start to realize how tiring it is. I get that you have to catch up with the latest models. I never ever denied. But what I'm saying here is that for me personally, I wanna cherish my personal emotion to the camera rather than the number of megapixels. Each camera has its own story with you. And it's not just about emotion. Practically, emotional connection with your camera can help you take better photos, because you know how it works more than anything. In Japan, we've been told that there are Yaoyos no Kami, which means 8 million gods. What it says is that a god exists for everything. A god of trees, a god of ocean, and even a god of toilets. That's how we keep our places nice and clean. And in this concept, of course, there is a god of photography, or even camera, more specifically. I'm not religious, but it helps me to treat things politely. There's no reason not to cherish my Q2. It's the item having the strongest connection with me in my life. If Leica Q2 wouldn't be a classic in the market, who cares? It's already a classic to me in 2024. I'm so excited to see where this camera will take me in future. But please forgive me if you see me using Q5 or Q6.